This video will cover section 1.R.8 on the subtraction of real numbers, or subtraction with real numbers. And to start with, there's kind of a vocabulary term, additive inverse of negative 123 in this problem. Additive inverse means the thing that you can add to a number with a result of 0. Another word for it is the opposite. Sometimes people call it the negative, but I like opposite because this is a negative number. The opposite, the additive inverse, is a positive number. It's not a negative number, so I don't like to call it the negative, but the opposite. Should be pretty simple to find. Now, if I had a positive number to begin with, the additive inverse would be a negative number. Negative 3 minus negative 14, that's what I got for number 2. That's minus a negative. It's kind of like a double negative, but it's subtracting a negative. What it really means is negative 3 plus 14, and that's 11. For the third one, I got 470.58 minus 114.51. And that's a great problem for a calculator. You can do 5-digit subtraction on paper. You can't do it in your head probably. But it's really easy on a calculator. You just have to type exactly what it looks like here. And do that and make sure you get 356.07. Just to check your calculator and check your operation of it. It's pretty straightforward for this one. The next problem is a financial one. And they're talking about, well, it's an applied problem or a word problem. But fortunately, this one's just about how to work a checking account, or maybe how not to. It says, bank says, I'm overdrawn by $168. How much must I deposit to bring it up to $287? So the situation here is that I'm overdrawn this much. I have really negative $168. How much do I need to put in there so my balance will be up to positive $287? Well, one way to think of it is I need to put in that much to get it to 0, and I need to put in that much to get it from 0 up to 287. So you can find this just by doing 168 plus 287. This is the subtraction section, so I think they're thinking about subtracting a negative or something, but really it's simpler if you think of it as you got to put in that much and that much, and that comes out to 455. The next one's got some words in it too, so there's a few types of word problems in this section. So 5 says, plane changes altitude from 15,800 feet to 1,500 feet. 15,800 to 1,500 means it's coming down a lot, actually. It's down to just barely, well, it's under 2,000. Here it's up above 15,000. The question is, what is the change in altitude? What is the change in altitude? And I can find that using subtraction. It's just, what I think of it as is you start with the original altitude and subtract this much from that. And that's going to give me how much we go down from the original altitude to the final altitude. I'm going to take the difference of the two. That is, well, from that I get 14,300 feet. These are both given in feet. Actually, I don't really like the look of that, because that looks like a change of altitude that's 14,300 feet positive. That makes it look like I went up. I think maybe a better way to interpret this problem is to start by writing down the final altitude and subtracting the original altitude to get negative 14,300. It's the same number. It's just, since we're going from a high to a low value, it makes sense to have that altitude change as a negative. For number 6, I got a fraction problem, 12/13 minus 7/13. And this is kind of an easy subtraction problem for fractions because the denominator is already the same. I just need to do 12 minus 7, which is 5/13 in this case. Oh, okay. So this is a fill-in-the-blank problem. It says -3 minus -14. That's actually what I had for number 1. But blank, -14 plus 11. And my choices are to say less than, greater than, or equal to. So one of these 3 symbols is what I need to use to fill in the blank. What I'm going to do is, piece at a time, simplify these 2 sides so I can compare the numbers more easily. Because looking at it like this, I can't tell. There's a whole bunch of symbols and negatives. I can't even tell if it's a positive or a negative. So this is -3 minus -14. We saw this earlier, -3 plus 14, which is positive 11. And this one, -14 plus 11, is -3. And now I'm going to pick this symbol. Now they're not equal. 11, -3. This isn't the right one. I don't want to say 11 is less than -3. What I need is 11 is greater than -3. And that's the answer. Greater than. With these symbols, less than is pronounced how it's read in a sentence. 3 is less than 5. But you could also say 5 is greater than 3. That means the same thing, and they're both true. But I've used the symbol less than and the symbol greater than. They're not interchangeable in that they mean the same thing. But if you have a less than expression, you can change it to a greater than expression by flipping them around, flipping the 2 sides. All right. So for number 8, it's kind of a verbal question. What number can we add to 97 to get a sum of 39? And if you just think about positive numbers, this isn't going to work. You can't add something to 97 and make it bigger and get 39. We have to add a negative. And we can find what that negative is in more than one way, but the most direct way is to take 39, the result that we want, and subtract the 97. And I'll show you that this is going to give us the right thing in a minute, but 39 minus 97, negative 58. I think I did that with a calculator just to be quick about it. But you can test that. 97 plus negative 58 will give you 39. So that is the correct number. For number 9, I got the problem negative 4.8 minus negative 22.2 minus 13.2. And that's a great calculator problem. You can put it in just like this if you have a scientific calculator with all the parentheses. It would be quicker to type it, though, if you just said negative 4.8 plus 22.2, because it's minus negative, and then minus 13.2, and put that into your calculator. You'll get 4.2. The next one is a addition, subtraction sort of thing with another word problem. It says a rocket launcher a rocket launches from a submarine (240 feet) below sea level. So I'm assuming that the submarine is in the sea, underwater, in particular 240 feet underwater. And reaches a height of 8,000 feet. And that's 8,000 feet above sea level. It's not 8,000 feet above the submarine. It's 8,000 feet up above sea level. So we want to find the change in altitude from where it started, 240 feet underwater, to where it finishes 8,000 feet above water. We can think of this as an altitude of negative 240. And if we look at the difference between the two, well, change in altitude is really the question they're asking. If we look at the difference of the two, 8,000 feet minus negative 240 feet, you can kind of see what's going to happen here. I'm really adding that 240 to get a total of 8,240 feet as my total change in altitude. It's the difference of the two altitudes, yes, but you have to keep in mind that this original one, that's the starting point, is actually a negative altitude. So I'm subtracting a negative. Number 11 says, it gives me a list and it wants to know what the net profit is. These are all dollar amounts. $77 profit, $39 profit, $30 profit, and finally $16 loss. And I can put all those together to find the total amount with 77 plus 39 plus 30 plus negative 16, or you could just say minus 16. Either way, that comes out to $130. 12 is a verbal problem, but it is just a math problem. It's not an applied problem. The difference between negative 24 and negative 3 is what we're supposed to find. So the difference between those two numbers, difference means subtract negative 24 minus negative 3. Those second parentheses especially are very important to keep my minus signs. I'm not subtracting the minus sign. I want to subtract the opposite of this number. And if I write that as negative 24 plus 3, because it's minus negative 3, that's negative 21. Number 13, they gave me another fraction problem, this time without common denominator, so I'm going to write it with some spaces so I can modify these expressions. Let's see. Over here, I'll do a little bit of stuff with my LCM. The factors in my denominator here are 2 and 5. So I'm going to need a 2 and a 5. I've already got a 2. I don't need another 2 on account of this. But here, I need 3 factors of 2. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So I need a couple more 2's. And 3 2's for that one. I need a 5 for that one. I need, oh, and a 2, but here I got that. So what I'm going to need to multiply by are the ones that are missing. The 2 and the 5 are there, so I need a 4 over 4. You could call it 2 times 2 over 2 times 2, but that's a little less writing. With this, I've got a factor of 2, but I need a factor of 20. And here I'm missing only the factor of 5, so there's 5 over 5. This one gives me 12 over 40, this one gives me 20 over 40, and this one gives me 5 over 40. And then I'm ready to just subtract numerators. 12 minus 20 is negative 8. Minus 5, that's over 40. So I have negative 13 over 40, and that's it. That won't reduce because 13 is prime, and it's not one of these primes, so there's no more cancellation. For number 14, 3 minus 2 minus negative 4 is, you can do this in a calculator, but it might be quicker just to do 3 minus 2 is 1, minus negative 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. And then this last one's it's just a math problem. It's not an applied problem, but it's verbal and it's a lot of words. So from the sum of 4 and negative 11, subtract the sum of negative 30 and negative 24. So from this sum, 4 plus negative 11, subtract, and I'm going to put this in brackets. That's the first thing, sum. Subtract the sum, also in brackets, of negative 30 plus negative 24. And then I want to simplify these expressions by working within the brackets. First, the sum here is negative 7. And I want to subtract the sum here is negative 54. So it's really negative 7 minus negative 54 is negative 7 plus 54, which is 54 minus 7, 47.